Welcome to Season 3 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor, and each week I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers and product creators to decode the myths, share knowledge and give you an insight into the industry. So grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax and listen in to Season 3 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. Today, I'm joined by an award-winning, highly experienced expert. She's an e-commerce acquisitions and digital marketing strategist for the retail sector. Helena Dingley, Retail Marketing Manager for the EMEA for Fitbit. Welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here, and thanks so much for the invite.
Oh, I'm thrilled. And I was saying to you before we started recording, I'm genuinely fascinated by this topic today. So I'm going to be listening and probably making notes in the background. So I'm really pleased that you've made the time to be with us today. So look, let's jump straight in the age-old fashion of the Retail Tea Break podcast. In the time that it takes to boil a kettle, which is about 2 minutes, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so I currently work in Google as retail marketing manager within the Fitbit team. And my background and experience is mainly within e-commerce and digital marketing within the retail industry, both on the client side, having worked in UK and Irish retailers, and both on the agents side as well, having worked in e-commerce agency. So I have many years experience in digital marketing, e-commerce, project management and performance marketing as well. And I have a particular draw for the retail industry and for content marketing also.
That's incredible. And as I said, your experience is unbelievable, which is why I'm so grateful you're here today, because you've seen so much. And I think by the looking at your kind of expertise and your background, you've grown as the industry's grown and changed, which is amazing. So most retailers and makers I know kind of say that they know they need engaging content. It's one of these things everyone says. However, I truly believe that a lot of them don't really know what that is. So when you talk about content creation, what do you mean?
Yeah, so I think, content means a lot of different things to different people and different brands, but mainly it is your videos, your copy on your emails, your website content, your user-generated content, and it basically needs to demonstrate to your customer the value of your product or your service. So what is the use of your product to the customer? And if this is demonstrated and this theme is across all your communications, it makes sure that the brand remains relevant and remains competitive. And with content, there's two parts to content. There's the content itself, the creation of content, and then of course it's the targeting the content and bringing an audience to the content. So there's two parts of content. When I talk about content, the main source of content for online retailers is your website. So you have to make sure that it's a window worth looking at, and really take time to work on your website. Over the last few years, we've seen a huge jump of the amount of shoppers that have tried a new brand for the first time. So in 2020, 24% of shoppers had tried a new brand, and that actually jumped up to 51% in 2022. So we can really see as retailers that since COVID, customers are willing to try new brands, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword, if you like, for retailers. On one side, customers are willing to try your brand and try different brands for the first time, but on another side, of course, they can jump straight on to a competitor. So I think retailers just need to keep this in mind and try and be unique, be worth seeking out. And I suppose a retailer in 2022, you cannot be everything to everybody. You need to know what you stand for. So just going back to the retail website, I always talk about a website in terms of your physical store setting. And I think the way to have a very successful website is to bring it back to the basics, really. So every morning, let's say you work at a store, you manage a store, you go in, you walk the shop floor, you make sure everything is where it should be for the customer that day. It's the same with your online store. Your e-commerce or your online team should really be placing regular test orders, seeing exactly what the customer is going to see in terms of automation, emails, the filters, navigation, all of that, to make sure that it is working as it should. And then the little things such as on your shop floor, you make sure you have enough of space to see your merchandise. It's the same with your online store, making sure your navigation, your filters are up to speed and customers can easily search for your product. You have your A+ content then. And when I talk about A+ content, this is like your 360-degree video content, your infographics, your really detailed content. And this is whereby a sales assistant is giving you the extra information. This type of sales assistant, of course, is of great benefit to a retailer in terms of performance, but it's actually a great benefit to a customer as well, because they're explaining about the product and they're helping you to make a choice. So for larger retailers, you would have a content syndication tool for uploading content. But if you're a smaller retailer and you're actually uploading it yourself, you need to make sure that you're actually prioritizing A+ content. I often say as well, there's little things such as the A/B testing on your website to see how your content is performing. And if you don't have these tools in place, or you simply can't get to that stage right now, have a look at larger retailers, the likes of Very, the likes of ASOS, even Amazon. There's certain things like, for example, there's no coincidence that all of these brands have a different color add to cart button at their product page. And this is because, obviously this does entice customers to go that extra mile. So there is a lot of things that can be done in terms of content on a web store. And it's probably the first thing as an online retailer that I would hone in on.
That's incredible. I have to say, even the amount of information there, but it makes sense the way you talk about it there, that, so many retailers you're used to as a manager, a supervisor walking around your store, that actually your website is just the same. And I guarantee you there are plenty of retailers and makers listening that simply don't do that. And actually, by the sounds of what you're saying, it's vital to running their business, especially at this time of year, that this is something they get into the routine of doing. So I suppose creating content then on the surface seems quite simple. You listed there some of the key ways to create content, but actually the impact, and I think this is phenomenal, the impact that it has on the customer and the brand, and maybe the way the brand is seen, is immense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's obviously a lot of ways that content can really impact the performance of a retailer. So social media is one, obviously, that has huge impact for any retailer, and especially influencers. So the rules of engagement are very much set with the influencer or influencer's agency at the moment, whether that will change in the future or not. But at the moment, retailers need to be quite cautious in terms of what influencer they use, or how many influencers they use, because your budget is obviously going to dwindle very quickly. So you need to make sure that you use an influencer that resonates with your customer. And the way an influencer will resonate with your customers if you know your customers. So it's quite important for a retailer to have that the data in place to know their customer. And when talking about social media and the impact it has on retailers, I think one that shouldn't be forgotten is LinkedIn. This platform, I know it's kind of one that we never
do. You know what? We talk about the kind of snazzy ones. We talk about the exciting ones, the pictorial ones like Instagram and TikTok. But I am so pleased that you've mentioned LinkedIn, because it's forgotten by most retailers.
I think so, and I think it's the thing that sets LinkedIn apart from your other social platforms is its incredible organic reach. So it has a perfect organic algorithm that really, it can broaden the scope of your brand. So it's just one not to be forgotten about. So that's in terms of social media. Of course, for content as well, you have email marketing. So email marketing is probably like your first traditional online marketing activity, and it's actually as as impressive as ever, because now you have your automation and your personalization. So automation is like your back in stock emails, you know, your welcome series, abandoned cart series. And then your personalization is whereby you segment your email lists based on their behavior. And so it makes sure that a customer is receiving an email that's engaging, that's relevant to them. And that's quite important. Otherwise, you can go down the loop very quickly of becoming quite spam-like. So you want to make sure that you're doing your segmentation on your emails. At the very least, that you have your email lists in place whereby you divide it into prospects, which is those that have signed up for your brand that haven't purchased yet, customers, and if you run a subscription-based model, that you have lapsed as well. So that's just to begin with. And yeah, so I think videos is probably another one for social, for content to really focus on. So when we talk about video contents, we probably just think of our Instagram, TikTok, that kind of thing. But again, another forgotten one is YouTube. So YouTube is the second largest search platform in the world after Google. So there's loads of customers searching for your brand there. And, you know, if you don't have a channel, you're leaving other people do the talking about your brand.
I did not know that. That's incredible.
Yes, yeah, it's the second largest search engine. So, and if you do have a channel, you have to make sure that you're updating it. So, you know, if I find your channel and I see that the last time you uploaded a video was a year ago, that really speaks volumes about the brand. So it's very important that you that you're using it. And, you know, even you can use content or videos that you already have. There's brands such as Dyson that does this very well. They have a section there called reviews where they upload their influencer marketing videos. So, you know, you can make sure that you're there. And to begin with, you can upload the video content you already have. You can link your product feed so that the videos are shoppable. And there's new initiatives there on YouTube, like Shorts, which is your condensed video content, and that again opens up a whole new audience as well.
I'm genuinely blown away. So I'm sitting here scribbling like a mad thing. There's so much here that I didn't know. And I guarantee you, again, as I said earlier, if I didn't know it, there's plenty of retailers and makers out there that didn't realize that YouTube statistic is unbelievable. And I think it just shows the importance nowadays of video. As you've said, we're used to reels and we're used to snippets of video on TikTok and Instagram, but actually nurturing this, and it's not a new platform, but it will be for a lot of people, nurturing this platform just seems like the way forward, which is amazing. So thank you for telling us that. Your top tips then, and as I say, I've already scribbled loads down, but what are your top tips then when it comes to creating content with all the experience that you've had? What would you be telling those listening to do?
Well, my main top tip would be to be user-centric across every single communication and every single touch point. You know, always think of the user or the customer. And another tip would be, you know, it's nowadays false advertising is much more than, let's say, misleading a customer about your brand. So false advertising used to be, you know, you'd say about your misleading information on a product, but these days it's more to do with the brand and the product. So for example, if you say you're a sustainable brand, or if you say you represent a certain cohort of people, that needs to be reflected also in your internal processes and in all of your communication. So it's just a point to note. Another thing I would also say is to really know your customer, and that's kind of the beauty of digital marketing, is that there's no excuse really not to know your customer. There's a mindful of information there, whether you're using your free tools such as analytics and you're just setting up dashboards for each piece of information, and for your activities such as Google Ads and all of that, or and you're setting up maybe your customer flows as well, your funnels, so you can see where customers are dropping off, or you might want to use bespoke platforms. But you know, you really do need to know your customer, and you know, as the old saying goes, anything that's not measured is not managed. So you do need to go back to basics for that. I think as well, just to be consistent in all your messaging. And the easiest way to do this is have a centralized CRM platform whereby all of your communications are coming from this. And this is the easiest way for a retailer to be consistent in all of their communications with their customers. And as a retailer as well, maybe depending on your size, but recognize which is your preferred method of communication, and really, prioritize those. So, as a team, say this is the preferred methods of communication. We'll prioritize these, and these will be available 24/7. And that basically means that your average response rate then is reduced, and it increases your brand loyalty. So, and I would say as well, to the user-generated content is always very, very important. This is your reviews. This is where, the customers can't touch or feel the product if they're buying online. So whether you're using programs, if you're a larger retailer such as Amazon Vine, whereby you're connected with your targeted sampling group of people, or you're a smaller retailer and you're just using Trustpilot or reviews platform, but you need to make sure it's very easy for a customer to leave reviews on the company especially, and the product. I think sometimes it's good to be bold as well about your content. It's always good. So from time to time, you need to initiate content. It's very easy. It's actually quite hard for a retailer in terms of having content every week. So other than saying new in or sale, it can be quite hard. So sometimes by being bold, you can initiate content. And we see brands over the years doing this, such as Alibaba, who created Singles Day. They didn't have a new product, they didn't have a new service or anything new, but they created a shopping day.
Look how much that's worth nowadays. Exactly. Like, it's phenomenal.
So I've only really thought of that, but it just shows you there's other brands, Patagonia, which told us to not buy the jacket on Black Friday. So they basically knew what they stand for, and they didn't want to get into this kind of consumerism piece. And I'm not saying for retailers actually to not do Black Friday, because I think it's actually a really important part of the marketing calendar. It's part of your marketing calendar now, but it's more that to really know what your brand stands for, and from time to time to be quite bold in the demonstration of that.
It's really refreshing to hear you say that, because again, I think some retailers get stuck in that this is new this week and this is new that week, and actually it is quite dull and we do scroll past. So it's really nice to hear you say, just go out there. I think once you know what your values are as a brand, stick to them, but be bold. It's a brilliant message to get out there, Helena. And I suppose you've talked about Black Friday there briefly, and we are coming towards the end of 2022. So I have to ask, while I have an expert in the room, what does 2023 look like for the industry? What are you seeing or feeling is coming towards us?
Yeah, I know. If only we all knew the answer to this one. But in my personal opinion, I think personalization is obviously the key going forward. I think retailers are already there. They're already linking their loyalty scheme with their online system. They're linking all of the systems. They're getting their data in place so that they're relevant for the customer and engaging for the customer. The only potential trap is having all this data and not actually using it, then not having a team in place, a data analysts in place, internal processes in place to actually use this data. So I would encourage retailers, to set out a clear journey for this, because it is the way forward. I think as well, obviously, we can't forget augmented or virtual reality. It's something that I'm not necessarily sure if customers are there right now, but in 5 to 10 years time, absolutely. And it's something that retailers need to start thinking about. And we already see mainstream brands dipping their toes in here, which is really interesting. I think actually we saw a couple of weeks ago, Marks and Spencer launched their very first virtual influencer, Myra. So I'm not sure if I necessarily go out to buy what is she's wearing in terms of influence. It's always good to see different shapes and sizes, but I think it really shows brands are starting to take notice and starting on this journey. And one that's an obvious one is social commerce as well. So social commerce is on the rise. I think customers will gravitate towards this more and more. They'll start shopping within the social app, and social apps will become an online store in their own right. So that's something definitely for the future. And I think in terms of retail, the merging of the physical store and the online store it'll become more blurred. There'll be more in terms of one offering. So the advantages of the online store you'll see on a physical store, and the advantages of the physical store on an online setting. And just bringing it back to Marks and Spencer again, so we can see that you can now purchase up to the value of €50 in store without having to go to the till. You can scan it on your app and pay for it there. So this is an advantage of convenience brought to a physical store. We also see it in Amazon style stores in the US, whereby you can go and scan your items, and they're automatically sent to the changing room for you. You don't need to carry around your products.
I love that idea.
Yeah. And then, of course, when you get to the changing room, there's a touch screen there whereby you can order in more sizes or whatever you need. So that's the convenience again of the online store brought to the physical store. And then the physical store, the added value of the physical store is like your A+ content that I spoke about earlier on your online store. So this will become a lot more blurred, and we'll see it as one channel as well.
I'm blown away. I think it's really exciting. I know kind of people have said to me, oh, there haven't been any new trends the last few years. Well, we're still battling with the end of of COVID, let's just say it. But actually, I'm loving how we're starting to really push these boundaries as you talk about now, the blurring of lines. And it's convenient, it's efficient, it's easy for the shopper. All these things you're talking about now and that's really exciting. And I think if that's all that's coming up, it's huge. It's a great kind of way to migrate into the future at an ease at which the consumer's happy with it. So I love the sound of that, and I'm very excited if we can start shopping in stores that clothes can magically appear in fitting rooms for me and I can get more brought to me. I'm loving that. How efficient and how exciting would that be? You'd be in there all day, which actually, again, is probably the reason for it. And therefore, I would spend more. So that's incredibly clever. I love that idea. So look, final question. And my goodness, today's episode has been so full of useful tips and things. But what's coming, I suppose, for you over the next few months into 2023?
For me, well, gearing up towards busy season, silly season, gearing up, getting everything ready. I work with global retailers on our search performance and on our content performance as well. So yeah, just keeping busy with all of that, really.
Sounds incredible. It really, really does. Helena, I want to thank you for all these incredible ideas and tips you brought today. I'm certainly a lot clearer on not only what content is as that kind of umbrella term, because again, I think it's something that's just been bounded around the last few years, but actually going into so much depth there about how we can do things better, the different content we can use, the different platforms we can use for it. And that's of such good use to the retailers and makers right now out there. And even if that they bring into 2023, I think it's going to be an exciting year. So Helena, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Melissa. Thank you.